All right.
You done drinking that soft drink there, Billy?
I'm done.
You good to record?
I'm done. I'm good.
Oh, nice. Hello, listeners.
Happy New Year!
How you going?
I'm not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well.
How was your Christmas, New Year, that whole jam?
Mine was okay. Mine was
Yeah.
okay. Pretty chilled, you know,
Yes.
at my age.
And chilled is hard to do in Australia because it's hot.
It's gross.
It's blistering.
I don't like it.
It sucks.
One thing I've been meaning to ask you is, this being the first Christmas you've experienced having seen Die Hard,
Yep.
did you get caught up at all in the great debate of whether Die Hard is a Christmas film?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it floating around online. I saw a couple of, I think there was it a video that went viral claiming that, there was definitive research that showed it wasn't a Christmas movie?
Well,
Fuck that.
fuck them.
It's a Christmas movie. There's no doubt about it. It's, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, start to finish, Christmas movie.
Do you know what I think the next great debate should be?
What's that?
Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut is
Yeah.
set in the festive period. Now, a film, while not normally thought of as a Christmas film,
Yeah.
you know, a fair chunk of that film is taken up with a family falling apart. And if there's anything that really screams Christmas in the real world,
Yeah. It's family
it's family
dramas.
falling apart.
Yep, yep.
I think the next push needs to be Eyes Wide Shut is a Christmas film.
So what you're saying is next year on Christmas Eve, I should sit the wife and kid down and be like, all right, we're going to watch a classic Christmas movie, throw the tape in, hit play, Eyes Wide Shut.
Your toddler will be into it.
Yeah, all right, I'm on board with that.
This is going to be a thing. So what we're actually doing today is our top 5 of
That's right.
2017. And we need to just kind of make a statement off the top here that we are going off films that were released in Australia in 2017.
Yes.
That means there are going to be some things that are actually 2016 films.
Yes.
And there are going to be some things, and they include 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, The Shape of Water, The Post, Lady Bird, I, Tonya, Phantom Thread. We haven't got these yet.
It's pretty outrageous how far behind we are.
But yeah, so if any of the films just listed, if you're like screaming and yelling, how could that not be on your list? We haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Also, we haven't seen every movie that came out. You know,
Well, this is
we
true.
we have jobs and stuff that
Yeah.
take up our time.
This is true. We try our best.
Yeah.
We get to as many as we can.
For instance, I didn't get to Good Time, which a lot of people absolutely loved. I just missed it.
Yeah, it happens.
It does happen.
Look at me. Die Hard 30 years later. Sometimes these slip through the cracks. You just can't get to everything.
So we're going to give our top 5 of films that came out here in 2017
That we saw.
That's the sample.
Yeah.
And we don't know. We haven't talked about each other's list.
No, we have no idea. Our list might be exactly the same.
Do you have a guess as to how many, if any, we'll have in common?
I think that we will have at least 1, possibly 2. But I think that's where it's going to end. I don't think we're going to have 5 apiece.
I'm on 1.
You reckon we're going to have 1
I
in
reckon we
common?
have 1 in common.
I can't wait to see. And we left this right to the last second because there were some releases that came out this week that we were like, well, in all fairness, we have to wait until this week
Yeah.
to record. So what? I mean,
I changed my top 5 this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So I'm probably going to wake up tomorrow and be like, no, change it back.
I locked mine in about a week ago, knowing what I had, a little bit of freedom to kick off if something else came on.
Yeah.
But happily, nothing did. The only movie I got to this week was Coco, which was very good.
Have you seen the Poe Dameron and BB-8 thing that I got for Christmas up there?
That's pretty dope.
It's really cool, isn't it?
That's very cool.
Back to the show.
All right.
Do you have an order?
I'll say up front that I don't. I've got one that I am sure is my one.
Yep.
Because it was that good. But apart from that, I was not able to put these in any kind of
I'm the
order.
same. I just have a top 5.
Yeah,
and
same.
That's it.
So how about we alternate this thing?
Yep.
So do you want to kick us off?
I'm going to start off with one that I wasn't expecting to love,
Okay.
and that is Jackie.
I did not see Jackie.
Now, Jackie I didn't see in cinemas,
Yep.
which bums me. I saw it on a plane,
Wow, that's the worst way to watch a movie.
Terrible.
I still liked it.
and I still thought it was exceptional. I was like, man,
Fuck, maybe
this
I
is
should
really
check this
good.
out.
I should have seen this in the cinema. Because I was like, okay, Natalie Portman will be great,
Yeah.
because Natalie Portman's great.
I mean,
And I was
always.
expecting that Natalie Portman's performance would be the reason to see the film. And apart from that, I wasn't really expecting to be all that into it.
Yeah.
And I was so into it.
Yeah. Wow.
It's really, really good.
Tell me what it's okay, because I'm going to put this up front. I don't like period movies. Any kind of period, unless they're done exceptionally well, I just don't particularly like period movies. So I know nothing about this. So tell me what it is.
Every scene in the film, I'm pretty sure, has Jackie Kennedy in it. Right. It is the Natalie Portman show. And it jumps around timelines a little bit, but it's largely focused on the days and weeks after JFK's death and how she handled herself and her family and the country. And it's told through a couple of different ways with flashbacks and also a conversation that she's having with a reporter. And it's just excellent.
Right.
The whole
Who
thing,
made it?
It was directed by Pablo Larraín. I think
Right.
Larraín is it. He's a Chilean director. And it was shot entirely on 16mm film. So it's got this old grain to it, which works so well.
Yeah.
And Portman, of course, was nominated for Best Actress for this film. And I haven't seen The Room. No, sorry, Room. Different movies.
Oh, hi, Topher.
Different movies. I didn't see Room. Man, Brie Larson would want to have been good.
Right.
Because Portman's phenomenal.
So putting this in your top 5,
Yep.
is this a movie that you would recommend? Would you tell me I should watch this movie? Because I've actually never heard you mention this movie. So
Yeah, well, I suppose the next time I saw you, I was coming back from a month's holidays.
So we were busy talking about all the food in Europe.
all the food that I'd eaten.
Yeah.
And it just didn't occur to me to talk to you about this movie. I think it's brilliant.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Tag, you're it.
All right. Well, this one's going to be really brief because my number one up front is Florida Project. Now, I don't think we need to go too much into that because we just spent an entire half hour talking about it last week.
Okay, it's in mine as well.
It's in yours as well. So, bam.
If you want to know what we thought of the Florida Project, check out our last podcast.
Yeah, and go watch it
Guys.
because it's really fucking good.
We were very much into it.
Yep. All right. So I guess we're back to me then. All right. Let's go chronologically then. Right back at the beginning of the year. This may even have been a 2016 release, technically. Split.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Indeed. So, we got that in January.
We did get this in January, and it was brilliant.
I really enjoyed Split.
I liked this movie a lot. Like, it's such a shame that because of the genre it is, James McAvoy will never get a nomination. And that is such a shame because what he does in this movie is awesome. It's a real shame because he's amazing. I've actually watched this movie multiple times and it's only been out a year. I've already watched it at least 3 separate occasions, which for the space of a year that's a lot of times to watch a movie. And every time I saw something new in him. Like, this movie, it just
rate McAvoy just
he's
generally.
Great. But this movie just had everything that you want for what it was. It was thrilling, it was gripping, it was fun. You know, like, sure, the script was a little bit sloppy, but I'm willing to forgive that for just the performances in this movie and just how much fun I had with it. So that's definitely in my top 5.
As well as McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy in Split is excellent.
Who was also great in The Witch.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess, bam, you're it.
Okay, my next one is, in some ways, a screamingly obvious one.
Yep.
But only if you know when it came out in Australia, and that is reigning Best Picture winner Moonlight.
Ah, okay.
Moonlight's fantastic.
Didn't get to it.
Moonlight is such a good movie.
Okay.
And I was part of the crowd on Oscar night that was like, that's awesome.
Right.
Because it's so good.
See, because I didn't get to Moonlight, but I love La La Land. I think La La Land was a great movie. I wasn't disappointed, though, when Moonlight took it, even though I hadn't seen it, because I have heard people like you and everyone... and it's one of those movies that I have been meaning to get to. But again, I know very little about this movie other than it's meant to be good. So, what is it?
It's a sort of coming-of-age, self-discovery, sexual, almost sexual awakening sort of thing. Yeah. Who's essentially... It's fairly autobiographical of the writer's life. Like, the mum in Moonlight is essentially his mum.
Is this the one where it spans across multiple time periods?
And three actors play
right.
the lead character when he's a child, when he's an adolescent, and when he's a young man.
And the acting across
and
the
all
board is
three of
pretty
them.
great.
And, like, you think you'd care and that it might bother you that they don't look alike for shit.
Right.
But you just don't care. And all three of them. And I think the guy who, the middle actor, if you will, the guy who plays him at high school, just stonkingly good.
Yeah, right.
Like, Mahershala Ali, of course, won supporting actor for it. I don't think he's the standout performance in the film. I mean, he's outstanding. I'm a fan of his. I think he's great.
Yeah.
The performances in this film are just phenomenal. And it's no great spoiler that Moonlight's a good movie.
I'll definitely check it out. I mean, is it a movie for film fans, or is it a movie for everyone? Because I guess part of the reason I didn't get to
It's not a movie for everyone.
Right, because part of the reason I never got to it is I never had anyone to go with, because, my wife wasn't.
But we both
super
love going to the
interested.
movies by ourselves.
Oh, I do. I definitely go to the movies quite regularly by myself, but you got to remember, I got a kid now, so it does get harder to find that time to go by yourself.
I, of course, think that other people are overrated and off I trot.
All right, well, I guess we're back to me now. So my next one on the list is The Big Sick, which, did you get to The Big Sick?
I liked The Big Sick.
I thought this was a great movie. It was just very, very well done. And I'm a big fan of Kumail Nanjiani, so I really enjoyed it. And based on a true story. I don't know, it was just so romantic and touching. And I thought the performances in this film were great. Everyone across the board, like Ray Romano.
Ray Romano was good.
Ray Romano killed it in this movie.
Because I was like, when I knew that he was going to be in the film married to Holly Hunter, I was like, this is going to be embarrassing for Ray Romano.
Oh, because Holly Hunter's
Holly Hunter, and everybody loves Raymond.
Yeah, but you know what?
He's great.
He smashed that part, yeah. And I fell completely in love with Zoe Kazan. Even though she's in a coma for half the movie, when she's awake, she is so delightful. It was just so easy to fall in love with her. So I loved everything about that movie.
Yeah, it was. I really did enjoy The Big Sick.
All right, so back to you.
Back to me. Next on my list is a film that I think is actually from 2015.
But we got it so late.
And I think it took most...
Was it 2015 at a festival or something?
Well, possibly.
Widely
and I think it took
distributed?
most of the world until... In fact, most of the world may have got it this year, but I think some of the world got it in 2016. It is a Danish film called Land of Mine.
Ah, yes. You watched this one only last week. Because
I watched
you
it a week or two ago because people who I have some faith in had said, you need to watch this film. It's sensational. It's the story of these German POWs directly after World War II has ended. Mm-hmm. And they are put to work clearing mines from parts of Denmark. And I've been trying to figure out if I can think of another film I've seen that gives a sympathetic portrayal of German soldiers from World War II.
Yeah.
Because most of the soldiers in this film are really young kids.
Yeah.
And it's partly told from their perspective, partly from their kind of Danish commanding officer. And it's a really, really good movie. Early on, there's a scene... This film does tension staggeringly well.
Is it a long movie?
No, it's not long. It's certainly under 2 hours.
Yeah, right.
And there's
That's
a scene,
a good length.
And there's plenty of scenes where they are clearing mines are really tense. But especially there's a scene early on in the film. I kid you not, I was watching through cracks in my fingers covering my eyes because the tension is just ramped up so bloody well. It's phenomenal. It's a really, really good film.
Right.
It's worth checking out. If you can track down this film, do so.
All right. Where did you hear about it?
Word of mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So back to me. My next one on the list, Get Out. Did you see Get Out?
Yeah. I really liked Get Out.
Great movie. It was slick and smart and funny and scary, which is so hard to put all those things together. It didn't come off schlocky or campy like a lot of kind of horror comedies can. It was very smart, I thought. I mean, Peele, who's a comedian,
first time feature director,
and it was just great. It was so well written, and it's very easy for twists these days. Ever since The Sixth Sense, people want to put twists into these kind of movies, and it's very frequent that it's okay, that's kind of sandwiched in there to be a twist. I did not see the twist in this film coming. I loved that character so much that I couldn't believe that she could be involved. I was so confident that she was not involved in this thing that I still can't believe it now, talking about it now, because her performance was outstanding, and just the way it's written, all the characters are just so... even though it's this completely kind of fantasy scenario, the characters are so grounded in reality that it just comes off really well.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't need us really to talk about the social commentary in the film.
Oh, no, it's very, but it's very obvious.
It is so good.
It is very, very good. If you haven't seen Get Out and you're not a racist, then go see Get Out. If you are a racist, just turn the podcast off and just don't listen to us again. But still give us a 5-star rating. But I can highly recommend Get Out. It's a great movie.
I'm big into the lead in Get Out, who was also in Sicario.
Yes.
I'm liking his work. I'm yet to see him play an Englishman yet. I didn't realise he was English until pretty recently.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
There's that scene in Get Out where he's being hypnotized and so much expression just in his eyes. He's like almost unconscious, but the amount of expression that this actor gets across is phenomenal. So I guess we're back to you, and is this number 5?
Yeah, my last one is Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk.
Yep, I saw that coming. I knew this was the one lock for me that I knew would be on your list.
Yeah, just a example of supreme competency in directing.
So here we go, though. We get to counter something which is a bit nice, because I enjoyed Dunkirk, but I felt it was quite overrated. I gave it a 7.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, look, it's a good movie. There were lots of things I enjoyed about it. I thought the cinematography was beautiful.
Stunning.
I really enjoyed the fact that it felt more like a Nolan movie than a war movie. That's one thing I really like about Nolan, that he will just make what he wants to make, and people will let him do it. And as we've said many times on this podcast, that's one of our favourite things, is when movies that are kind of different get made, which is great. That I really liked. For me, it didn't work as a whole movie. I didn't enjoy the 3 separate stories being told in that way. I felt like we didn't get enough time with any of the characters. And also, one of the big kind of things about this film is that there's very, very, very little dialogue, which I think if you had more time with these characters would work fine. But when you've only got about 25 minutes with each of them and they barely talk, for me, I just couldn't feel invested in them.
Yeah, the main knock I've heard on this film is that it's kind of lacking in the human factor.
Yes,
which I get.
But it is a spectacle.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if you saw this in IMAX or something, it would be an amazing
I haven't seen it in
as I
IMAX.
said, it is shot beautifully.
I've heard from anyone who did see it in large format said it's
because it was also
phenomenal.
screening in 70mm.
Yeah.
And I do it, like, as I said, I enjoy that Nolan will do these different things. But for me, this one just didn't really work.
Yeah, so the large parts of this film where there is a raging lack of dialogue wasn't a problem for me at all, because I was just so caught up in, geez, how well can Nolan tell a story that he doesn't need a script? And the cinematography is
beautiful.
The whole so good, because the camera is telling this story.
I mean, as you said, very competent filmmaking. Like, there's no question that Nolan knows how to make a movie. But for me, as you said, I guess that the kind of human kind of element.
The score in Dunkirk, absolutely loved.
Yeah.
The one thing where I might just turn on it one day is if Roger Deakins doesn't win best cinematography for Blade Runner 2049, and I actually like the cinematography in Dunkirk is so good that ordinarily I couldn't knock it winning. It's just that if yet another year goes by without Deakins winning an Oscar, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Well,
again,
there has been pretty heavy talk that this is probably his year. I think the Oscars reached that point where they just kind of have to throw someone an award.
Oh, they do that all the time.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. Deakins is, I think, 13-0 for nominations. Jesus.
Oh, he's the next Leo, mate. I would tell you, if he keeps going, one day he could be Leo.
You'll get there, Rog.
All right, so I guess we're up to my last.
Yep.
Mother. I don't know if this surprises you or not that this made my list. What I love about this movie is I'll probably never watch it again. Like, I thought this movie
Which is not rare for Darren Aronofsky fills for me. Yeah. Like, Requiem for a Dream is a phenomenal film. I'm never watching it again.
Yeah, I thought this movie was so outstandingly done. Every kind of element of it was perfect. I have never felt so invested in a film before. Like, even before things started going hectic, I hate people. So right from the start, when these random people are in her house, my heart was racing. And I have a very weak bladder and I drink very large Cokes during movies, so I always have to pee. I couldn't stand up during this movie. I was locked in it. Like, it was, I've never watched anything so intense. And like I said, it was so intense that it happened to me with Up as well by Pixar. I'll never watch that movie again because I like to have some fluid in my body. But yeah, Mother just, everything, like the sound design, the script, it was a little heavy-handed with its message, maybe, but it was just so good that for me, it was definitely one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah, I was really into Mother.
And I actually don't like Jennifer Lawrence. I've liked her in very little of her movies, but I thought the cast across the board in this, both her and Javier Bardem, were so
Pfeiffer
good.
was phenomenal.
Oh, she was. Yes, I actually forgot she was even in it for a second there. Yeah, it was just a great movie. If you are in for a bit of a trip, go watch Mother. If you do have a little bit of a weak stomach, then maybe don't see it.
So, yeah, several of yours are on my shortlist. So, even
So
though we only
what else was on your shortlist of your kind of honourable mentions?
I said that I flipped one this morning.
Yes.
My really unlucky loser is Blade Runner 2049.
Which I haven't gotten to yet.
I was really scared about Blade Runner 2049 because, like most film nerds, Blade Runner holds a pretty special place for me.
Yeah, and sequels are always risky. I remember...
So I was really scared.
Was it earlier this year or was it last year that Trainspotting 2 came out?
Yeah, and I think Trainspotting 2 is a really good film, but
did it need to be made? Was exactly what you said to me.
Yeah, it's a really good movie that I didn't need.
Yeah, and Blade Runner could have very much fallen into that category where it just didn't really need to exist.
Yeah, but in the hands of Denis Villeneuve, who I think is arguably the form filmmaker, there's so much to like about Blade Runner 2049. Ryan Gosling's face, for instance.
Well, I still
people complain about the length of Blade Runner. I'm like, what? Who's getting enough of looking at Ryan Gosling? This is madness.
So that was on your list right up until this morning.
And
which one was it that took it off?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, I'd love to know, though. I'd love to know. Oh, that's a shame. Anything else on your kind of shortlist? Because I did have a bit of a list going.
Other things that were in the running for me were... So Mother was on my shortlist.
Yeah.
Get Out was on my shortlist. The Last Jedi was on my shortlist. One that I really personally just really, really enjoyed, The Edge of 17.
Oh, I didn't get to that, but I did hear that was very good.
I'm convinced that you would really like Edge of 17.
Okay, I'll get to it. Let's talk about Last Jedi for a second.
Yep.
When did that sneak onto your possible list and why was it there? And did it ever flit with the chance of getting into your top 5?
It was probably never getting in, but in the days and weeks since it came out, there's more and more that I like about what Rian Johnson did.
Okay. So what you're saying is I should get to a second viewing.
You definitely should get to a second viewing.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I mean, other ones on my shortlist are Spider-Man Homecoming was up there. Meh. See, I think as far as the Marvel movies go, I think that's the best one we've had. I very much enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy, but I thought Homecoming was great. I thought...
Volume 1, that is. We both thought Volume 2 was bog average.
Tom Holland, though, he's by far the best at being both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. You know, it's like how we've had actors who are good Batman, terrible, Bruce Waynes. I thought Tom Holland was really good at both. So I enjoyed a lot about that movie. Also, Finding Francis, which you definitely wouldn't have seen. It's the Nathan For You feature length.
Yeah, right.
Watch it because it is one of the best things I've seen this year.
Yeah.
That for a very long time that was a lock in my 5 and it kind of just drifted out. But you should get to that.
So that concludes our top 5 of 2017 then.
Sure does.
Now,
but surprise!
Surprise! So I heard the actor Michael Rappaport. So he was asked about his favourite film of the year, and he said that he doesn't like talking about his favourite film of the year because it's too early to say.
Yeah.
And that really only, maybe I'm misquoting him, but this was the general gist, that if he had it his way, you'd give out awards 10 years later.
I like that idea.
The movie's had time to sit. Has it aged well? Does it stand up? Were you just lost up in the moment? Were you caught up in Harvey Weinstein bribing you? To find out what actually were the best films of a certain year, the way to do it is to look back.
Yeah.
So now we're going to do our top 5 of 2007.
Yeah. Now, when you messaged me this, I was like, oh, shit, I don't remember what was in 2007. But you know what? That was a damn good year.
Good year.
I was shocked.
So 2007 gave us such gems as Alien vs. Predator Requiem, film that almost made me want to stop watching movies. It was that bad.
For this one, do you still want to back and forth it, or do you just want to give us your 5?
I think we go back and forth. And for this one, so I haven't bothered checking when things came out in Australia.
No,
that's
same.
too hard.
That
was too hard. This is just when they came out.
Release date.
Exactly.
Okay, before we get started, do you think that we'll have any crossover?
We're a chance of one, but I actually don't think we are going to have a single film in common.
All right, let's do this.
Your turn to go first.
Juno.
On my shortlist.
Juno was a great movie.
Great film.
Loved everything about that movie. And honestly, it's 10 years ago. If you haven't seen Juno, go watch it. Diablo Cody, who wrote and directed that movie, I believe it was her...
No, she didn't direct it.
Right.
Reitman directed.
Oh, of course. He did. Yeah, I believe it was her kind of debut.
Yeah, because she was approached to do a screenplay on the basis of her blog.
Right.
And then she came up with this screenplay, which, as I understand it, is in no way related to her blog.
Yeah.
But they were like, this is great.
I loved it. And, I think it was a few years after that she made Jennifer's Body, which I also love.
All-time great.
People will tell me it's not good, and those people can get fucked.
They're wrong.
So Juno is definitely, yeah.
Juno's great.
As soon as I looked up the kind of list of films that were released in 2007, and I saw that there, I was like,
All-time greatest representation of a stepmother in cinema. CJ Craig herself, Alison Janney, in that film is so good.
I mean, all the cast.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons is all. I mean, why even mention his name? Has he ever been not good?
No. George Michael's in there.
Yes.
Gotta love some Michael Cera. And, I mean, of course,
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page as Juno.
Was that the first time the world was really introduced to Ellen Page?
No,
it's the first time I really remember her.
I knew who she was. She'd been in an X-Men Hard Candy, I'm pretty sure.
I was just about to question.
That.
Yeah, actually, I think it was. And Hard Candy's another great movie. Yeah. That's very, very good.
Ellen Page is just great.
Did you see Flatliners this year?
No.
Maybe we should get to our worst of the year.
It was not even good. Some friends of mine.
Even in that, she's awesome.
Some friends of mine who were like big horror fans, they went and saw the new Flatliners. I got a text from them the next day, just like, dear God.
it's not good. But even in that, you gotta love her.
Well, I'm happy. Yeah, that didn't make my 5, but I'm really happy it's on yours. I'm going to start off real obvious. The Best Picture winner of that year, No Country for Old Men.
Which I still have not seen.
That is criminal.
You should see the look on Topher's face.
That is criminal, Billy.
Look, I'll get to it. I'll definitely get to it.
No Country for Old Men is my favourite Coen Brothers film, and these are the guys.
See, and I love me the Coen Brothers.
These are the guys that made Fargo.
Yeah,
and this is my favourite.
Okay.
No Country for Old Men is, as far as I'm concerned, a genuine great. That's a term that gets thrown around.
Because Fargo is still in my all-time top movies of all time. So if you're saying that No Country for Old Men is better than that, I'll get to it. I promise.
It's so good. It's so good. So you know that I don't know how much you know about it now. So there's kind of 3 main-ish characters. Like if you had to say there is a lead,
yeah,
but the 2 supporting characters do have a lot of screen time of their own. One of them, of course, being Javier Bardem, who won the Oscar for the film and is, I think, the best screen villain since Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. I mean, just such a great performance.
Right,
but the 3 main characters never on screen together.
Huh.
Weird little thing.
Do they interact in any way? Are there phone calls or anything, or are they just
literally... They do talk. Yes, they do communicate. Right. There's a cool little... You know, like a lot of Coen Brothers films do have weird little tie-ins that...
Yeah.
That certainly on first viewing you probably don't notice. There's a case of money in No Country for Old Men. Same case as Fargo.
Does Steve Buscemi pop up anywhere? Because Steve Buscemi should be in every movie ever.
Do you know... So Woody Harrelson's in No Country for Old Men.
I love Woody Harrelson.
Do you know what I didn't know until recently?
What?
Woody Harrelson's estranged father, I don't know how much he had to do with him growing up, contract killer.
Like legitimately?
Legitimately. Woody Harrelson in this film plays a contract killer. I don't know if any of the performance is based on his old man or anything.
Wow.
But I was like, whoa, that's out there.
Yeah, that's a fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men is another Roger Deakins film. That year he was nominated. This is the most egregious of the overlooks for Roger Deakins for me is 2007, where he was up for 2 films. And in my opinion, he should have won for The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford.
Yeah.
Excellent film.
And what did win?
There Will Be Blood picked up the award.
Huh.
And I suspect that because the momentum was all No Country for Old Men, Deakins would have been pinching votes off himself for the film that was getting all the votes and didn't win again.
There you go. All right.
See No Country for Old Men.
I will. I promise I'll get to it.
Good grief.
Well, I'm kind of thinking that most of these we probably both will have seen. I mean, we're talking 10 years in the past. I don't know if you will have seen this one. Did you ever see King of Kong?
Love King. It's on my short list.
One of the best documentaries ever made.
I agree.
And honestly, I don't care whether it's real or not, because it's like Star Wars. There has never been a better villain than fucking Billy Mitchell in King of Kong. He is smarmy. He is a prick. And the Steve Wiebe, who's, you know, your kind of white hat good guy, is a science teacher. He's you know, like, it is such... If you haven't seen King of Kong, basically what it is, it actually started off as a documentary just about nerds. They were just filming, you know, people playing arcade machines and stuff, and then they kind of got the sniff of this story about, you know, the world record holder of Donkey Kong having his record taken by this science teacher and trying to get it back. and it is just outstanding. Just go watch King
It's
of
so
Kong if you
good.
haven't
It's
seen it.
such an
You'll never see
engaging
a better
story.
documentary.
It's such an engaging story.
It really is. It just hooks you in, and you just care so much. Just go watch it.
Yeah. Check out King of Kong: A Fistful of Quarters is its full name,
that's
isn't
its
it?
full title. Yeah.
Yeah, another great doco from that. This isn't on my list, but just there was a doco that year called In the Shadow of the Moon.
Okay.
Kind of history of the Apollo missions.
Ah, right.
So good.
Cool. All right, so we're back to you.
All right. Following on from No Country for Old Men, I'm going into one that I feel like if I didn't have this, the cinephiles would come for me. There Will Be Blood.
Which we've spoken briefly about. It won the Oscar for cinematography.
It did, and the cinematography in There Will Be Blood is outstanding.
Yeah.
So at least there's that. So There Will Be Blood I watched again recently, having not seen it since the movies. It's one of those. I mean, it's kind of in the Blade Runner realm of movie nerds freaking love There Will Be Blood, and I remember really liking it, and in particular, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis in that film is in the conversation as far as I'm concerned for best screen performances of all time with
who did in fact win for that performance.
He won his second of 3.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal. Up there with for me, like Francis McDormand in Fargo.
Yes.
Casper Van Dien in Starship Troopers. I mean, Daniel, like, it is worth watching the movie
Just
for
for the
Daniel Day-Lewis's performance.
Absolutely.
And then so I revisited it a little while back, so I was like, okay, hang on. Maybe I didn't like this film enough. Just because of the way that a lot of people talk about it, and indeed some people whose opinions I rate. There's not many people. I was like, okay, I need to watch this movie again. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It is a great... Paul Thomas Anderson, of course. First film he made, I think, that didn't have Philip Seymour Hoffman in it.
Oh, okay.
So, like, up until Hoffman's death. And even now, because
this was
of course,
after his death, wasn't it?
No, this was before.
Oh,
so he still made
Master.
the Master with the Hoff. Yeah, like you're going all right when you go two guys of Philip Seymour Hoffman and Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
And There Will Be Blood is kind of curiously linked to No Country for Old Men. Like they were the two big award season contenders of that year, and for a time they were actually filming in the same part of West Texas. Like, I mean, kind of literally over the hill from one another. There was a day where the crew from There Will Be Blood were doing a test for this big fire scene that's in the film, and across the hill, the Coen brothers had to halt production for a day because of all this smoke that was in the sky. Then, I mean, there's a bunch of debate that rages still about which of those films was better and which really should have been winning awards. They're both bloody fantastic. Just enjoy them, people. But yeah, all glory to Paul Thomas Anderson. This film's great.
Yeah. All right, next on my list. This one may possibly be on yours as well. Gone Baby Gone.
It's on my list.
There you go.
That was the one I thought. Yeah.
Excellent movie. You know, I actually didn't see this movie 10 years ago. I saw it probably
Neither did I.
about 2 years ago when you showed it to me.
That's right.
And great movie. I mean, I think I've mentioned it on this podcast before, but I'm a huge Affleck fan.
You've got a bit of a soft spot.
He was the Bond
for the
of
Batfleck.
Phantoms, and like he knows how to direct a movie. And we've actually had this discussion that he's probably one of the only directors who his top 3 right out of the gate were all excellent.
His first 3 films
it's pretty
are
rare
amazing.
It's pretty rare for 3 debut films of a director to be as good as
And you've
his.
got to think about the reason I didn't see this.
Because this was his first. And then The Town.
Then The Town, then Argo.
Yeah.
And you've got to think about who Ben Affleck was or who he was perceived to be in 2007.
Exactly.
The reason I didn't see it at the cinema was like, I'm not going to watch a Ben Affleck movie.
Yeah. I mean, so he broke up with Jennifer Lopez in 2006. No.
I don't know.
It was around the time of Jersey Girl. I went on a date to see Jersey Girl in 2004.
This was the movie that made me think, okay, maybe Good Will Hunting was written by both of them and not just Matt Damon with Ben Affleck's name on it.
Which has always been the rumor for a long time was that Kevin Smith wrote it, which is, I love Kevin Smith, but he did not write it.
That is not a Kevin Smith script.
Not nearly enough dick jokes. I agree. I think Ben Affleck, he just knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this was the film that really turned it around for him. The same thing kind of happened with Leo. For a long time, people wouldn't take Leo seriously because he was just that pretty boy. And then at a certain point, people were like, oh no, shit, he can actually act. And I think this is when Ben Affleck really showed like what he could do, other than just be a celebrity.
And the performances, there's so many great performances in Gone Baby Gone.
They really
Well,
are.
Amy Ryan, who plays the mum,
Yes.
best trashy mum ever for me. Even better than the Florida Project is Amy Ryan in Gone
And
Baby
before
Gone.
this movie, the only thing I'd seen her in is the US version of The Office.
Right.
I only knew her as a comedic actor. So to see her in this film, she was outstanding.
Ben Affleck, I think I read Ben Affleck thought that she was from Boston because she was just her character. She was so flawless. I think she wasn't allowed on set the first day because she turned up
And they just thought she was some
security
trash
were
bag
like,
trying to
get the fuck out. And one of the producers was like, oh no, she can come in. I'm pretty sure she was Oscar nominated for this film. So many great performances in this movie. Like Ed Harris is typically awesome. It's a really good, moody film.
Yeah, go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
What's next on your list, Toph?
Next up on my list, all right, this is probably my outlier for 2007. I have a genuine box office disaster in Danny Boyle's Sunshine.
I did not get to... Is this the sci-fi fantasy movie?
The one where the sun's dying.
This is in your top 5.
Yeah.
Fuck, all right.
I love Sunshine.
Okay.
I know most people don't. The visual style of Sunshine is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Which is no great surprise because it's Danny Boyle. Here's a couple of things that might turn you around on it. Professor Brian Cox was a consultant.
I was just about to say, remind me who the cast is, because I actually can't even...
So lead role was Cillian Murphy, following on from 28 Days Later with Danny Boyle. One of our favourites, Rose Byrne, is in there. Chris Evans playing not an action person. Someone I really like, Cliff Curtis, is in it. Michelle Yeoh is in it. Benedict Wong, Mark Strong, who I really like, is in it. Another thing to really like about this film, the spacesuits, allegedly inspired by Kenny on South Park. With the hoods coming forward.
That's pretty cool.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, all right. I'll rewatch it.
There's no... I think originally there was meant to be a kind of romantic thread to the plot, and they decided, no, that's stupid, and I'm so glad they did.
Okay. So did you see this movie in 2007?
Yeah.
How many
and then
times have
I
you seen
bought
it
it the week it came
Oh,
out
wow.
on DVD.
Okay, so you loved it since then.
I loved it. I remember watching it at the old group house I lived in once. One of my housemates was kind of walked in at the start and he was watching it and he was like, why have I never heard of this film? This is great.
Yeah, because
I was
a
like,
flop.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, I'm not judging. I mean, everyone who listens to this knows I watch some trash.
I know I'm in the minority here.
Well, see, I'm the same.
But that film just worked for me.
And I know that you did see this, John Carter. I loved that movie. And again, that was a complete flop.
Yeah, I thought John Carter was a lot of fun.
I thought it was great. But again, you know, like sci-fi movies are hard not to flop. Most of them flop unless they've got a name.
Over to you.
All right. This next one, very popular movie. It may be on your list or you may think it's trash. Superbad.
I really like Superbad.
I love Superbad. I still watch it. I think it's, as far as like teen comedy goes, this I think is probably the best. You know, like I'm a huge John Hughes fan, so you know, for me to say that this is one of the best teen comedies, I just think it's just so funny. Just there are so many laugh out loud moments in this movie. Like almost every line, you at least chuckle. It does exactly what it wants to do.
The truly magical thing that Superbad did was make me think, for the duration of the movie, it made me think that, yeah, I was pretty cool in high school.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the movie was over, I was like, no, you weren't.
Yeah. Well, and like the acting in this movie, I mean, you've got George Michael again. You know, I believe, was this our introduction to Jonah Hill?
It was certainly the first thing I'd seen him in.
Yeah, our introduction to Christopher Mintz-Plasse as well, who will forever be known as McLovin because of this
Absolutely.
movie. Most people just, McLovin's in this.
I dare say it was the first thing I'd seen Seth Rogen in.
It very well could have been, who also, of course, co-wrote this movie.
It would have been the first thing I saw Emma Stone in.
Ah, yes, it probably would have. And Emma Stone's fantastic in this movie.
She's really good.
She's very, very good.
Yes, what a shock. Emma Stone was good.
Yeah, it was a great movie. So that's definitely in my top of 2007.
Yeah, cool.
Back to you, Toph.
I'm going to finish off with something that, okay, for me, this could not be more obvious, but in 2007, David Fincher released a film, and as such, it's in my top 5. Zodiac, which
I haven't gotten to, and I've heard that it is outstanding.
I'm really happy that in recent years, more and more people are coming around.
Because that's kind of a sleeper
to
hit.
how good Zodiac was.
Yeah, see, I actually didn't hear about this movie at the time. I've heard about it so much more kind of in the last, 2-3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really picked up in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Retrospectively, people are like, Jesus, Zodiac was good.
Now, it is about the Zodiac Killer, is that right?
Yeah, so And like, there's a bunch about this film that shouldn't work.
Yeah.
It's a 2.5 hour long procedural. Like, the script, I think, was at least 200 pages. And the studio were like, how are you going to fit this into a movie? And Fincher was like, I'll make them talk fast.
Yeah.
Which is like actually what he did for The Social Network.
Yes.
When the studio was like, this is going to be way too long. He's like, nah, watch this. I'm David fucking Fincher. Yeah, so, and because if pushed to it, you'd say that Jake Gyllenhaal is the lead in the film. But he's not the lead for the entire film.
Yeah, right.
It does kind of move around a bunch in terms of kind of who's telling the story, if you will. And it's just full of awesome David Fincher shit. Like, they approach, the screenwriters, I think, it's adapted from the book written by the person that Gyllenhaal plays.
Okay.
And the people that adapted it to a screenplay were like, all right, well, who do you want to direct this? Well, we'll ask David Fincher. He'll say no, but then at least we've asked.
Yeah.
And Fincher, who grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area at the time, happily was like, hell yeah, and just typically directs the shit out of this bloody great film.
Yeah, see, well, that's been on my to-watch list for a long time, so maybe we should do an episode on it.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I still haven't seen it. Last one for me, Lars and the Real Girl.
I haven't seen Lars and the Real Girl.
It's a fantastic movie. I think it's probably the first introduction I had to Ryan Gosling, who I find quite hit and miss.
I love Gosling.
He's a very attractive man. I don't think all of the movies he's in are wonderful, though. But this movie's just great. It's a real... It's just got that... It's got a very indie feeling to it. And it's just very touching. It's just, it's about this... You know what it's about.
I know loosely what it's about,
Well, it's about a man who's very kind of... very bad at social cues, very... Probably on the edge of the spectrum, who starts dating a blow-up doll.
Yeah.
And basically, what's great about this story is all of the people who kind of support him through this, just to kind of, as a way to help him, rather than be like, oh no, you're crazy, that's a blow-up doll. They just kind of pretend that this girl is real.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good. I'd recommend watching it.
I know it's one of those films that in the back of my head have been like, you should get to that film.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't happened. I hope it will. Any honourable mentions you want to throw up?
I actually I don't have any honourable mentions for 2007. You?
Alien vs Predator: Requiem. Bunch of my honourable mentions are actually in your top 5.
Yeah.
I was a massive fan of the first 3 Bourne films. Bourne Ultimatum was 2007. Yeah. Loved it.
So Bourne Ultimatum was the last one, right?
That's the third one. Yeah.
The
last one.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah. I only saw the first one. Fell asleep in the cinema. Thanks for joining us for this year.
See No Country for Old Men, Billy.
I will. I definitely will.
Jesus.
I promise you that I will. And you know what? I'm going to watch it tonight.
Do it.
I will. I most definitely will. I promise you.
You're meant to be on dinner with me, and you ditched me. So I know you've got time on your hands for doing whatever is better than having dinner with me. So to recap, our 2017.
Yes.
Top 5. Both had Florida Project.
Yep.
You also had?
I also had Split, The Big Sick, Get Out, and Mother.
I also had Moonlight, Dunkirk, Land of Mine, and Jackie.
And then, let's just recap 2007 as well. For me, I had Juno, King of Kong, Gone Baby Gone, Superbad, Lars and the Real Girl.
I was No Country for Old Men, Zodiac, There Will Be Blood, also Gone Baby Gone, and Sunshine.
So, if you haven't seen any of those 18 films, then go watch them. And if you hate them, let us know. Thanks, Heath, for joining us so far this year.
Looking forward to 2018.
Yeah, we only started about 2 months ago, but so far it's been a blast. So can't wait to keep it rolling. If you're looking for other things to listen to over the holidays, you can check out our friends at Nerd on the Podcast. You can find them at nerdonthepodcast.com. They themselves just did kind of a year in review, but they talk about games and stuff as well. And shout out to our friends over in Kansas as well at Cold Brew Chronicles. You'd like them, Toph. They just drink and chat.
They do sound like my kind of people.
Yep, definitely. So check
if there's
them out
just
as well.
West Wing on a loop in the background, I'm there.
Well, that's just putting a mic in your apartment. That's not interesting.
That's true. Should have a webcam up. Me watching West Wing.
So if you'd like to reach us, you can do that at bearsonfilmmailbag@gmail.com. You can check us out at bearsonfilm.net. You can find us on Facebook at Bears on Film Podcast, Instagram at Bears on Film Podcast, or Twitter at Bears on Film Pod. And until next time, just go watch a movie.
Happy watching, people.